The goal for this podcast is to better our understanding through conversation. Communication is one of the easiest, yet hardest things to do. Whether that's communication of feelings, thoughts, or opinions. But through communication, new perspectives begin to take place. Throughout the various topics and opinions discussed on this podcast, we hope that we can add value, understanding, and a few laughs to your day. Thank you for listening, and enjoy the show.
All right. The first thing I want to ask you, right, is do you freestyle because you don't want to bite nobody's style, or do you freestyle because you want to build your own style? And like those questions go in with each other, but they get different answers.
So you asking me that?
Yeah. Like, cause you said you like to freestyle, you like just go off the dome. So I'm asking, is that because you want to don't want to be like, oh, he biting somebody else's style, or you just do that because you want to build the sound or the chemistry between our podcast, like how we do things? Well,
to be honest with you, man, it's like when I'm coming off the dome, that's the most natural state of me that you can get. It's nothing more than just being live and on demand. It's just
the here and now, like you get what you like, whatever. Authentic,
that's the most authentic version of myself that I can give. Like that's the gift that keeps on giving. Is, you know, we always talk about being in a moment and owning it. That is me being in the moment, and you know, just fully grasping the fact that right now, whatever is coming from my thoughts, I'm able to convey that message. You know, and I try to do it as clearly and concise as possible. So that's all that is.
That makes sense. I was just wondering because I was like, all right, cool. You know what I'm saying? Which makes sense. You know what I mean? Like, all right. So on the switching gears, I was listening to a podcast and they said English and history, right? It was talking about the English language and history. And I was like, the guy in the podcast said, if you want to overtake a people, don't allow them to read, write, or study history. English and history, and I said English and history are the two most powerful things you can learn in America. One teaches you how to speak and write in the country you live in. The other one tells you about it. And I'm like, you know what I'm saying? Obviously, you know what I'm saying? We both understand that. But like speaking the English language, like I was thinking sometimes the language could be limited on the vocabulary, how to use it, things of that nature. And even just like me, like I read books and I was like, yo, how about expanding outside of the genres that I read in? You know, psychology, philosophy, even fictional books. You know what I'm saying? Just to gain a new perspective, because you only limited to who you speak to. So whoever you're speaking to, that's what your language is going to be like until you step out of that realm and you hear somebody else speak something different. Or either you study in history and you learn something different. You know what I'm saying?
I feel like you're limited by what you know. Like, you know, you can be okay, it's just like you could be your limit could be topless if your automobile comes topless. If it can become a topless automobile, then the limits of understanding, you know, different levels and different atmospheres.
It's just coming in.
Exactly.
Got you.
But if you don't know how to make your automobile topless, if it never came topless, or if you were brought here and you were limited by what you know, which isn't much, then to be honest with you, you're limited. And it's just, you're limited based off of the fact of you just never knew this. Not saying that you can't learn it, and then from you learning it, then you can understand how to make your automobile topless, right, so to speak, or design an all new automobile that is topless.
Yeah, that makes sense.
Yeah, but again, it's just like, you know, you could tell people all day, every day, act like you've been there before. But really and truly, how do you perform that task if you've never been there before?
True.
You there, you know, you in a
pretending at
championship.
that point.
Yeah, you at a championship and these lights brighter than you've ever played in before. You like, oh my, now you stuck in the lights. You looking up.
I ain't know lights could. I got this many lights.
Yeah.
Yo.
Are these LEDs? You know,
Feel me?
it's like, you know what I'm saying?
Right.
It's like, man,
You ain't
yeah.
even made it past the hallway.
Man,
You
look
like,
here.
yo.
Exactly. Not to mention that you about to be playing in this new atmosphere.
Yeah.
And now here it is. You got to return punch. So now when the ball is in the air, your eye stuck in the lights. Now you done lost the ball.
Mm-hmm.
And now a costly mistake. But then coming into it, what you said, act like you've been here before. But coach, I've never been here before. I've never seen this before, coach.
True.
So it's like it takes a level of just being real with the situation. If you're not aware of the situation or you know what the situation entails, you need to go ahead and, hey, look, this is totally new to me. Like my grandfather used to always say
Hold on
that-
real quick. Hold that thought. I forgot to put the camera on. Do not disturb. Somebody called me or something. I was gonna knock it off. That's my fault.
1,000 flows in the, you know what I'm saying, in the ether, and now you like, boy, let me try that one. Let me try that ain't it. That ain't, and all of a sudden it's like, oh man, I got something here. I like this beat. I'm gonna ride this beat. That's how I be though, man.
Nah, bro. What you was saying about your granddad though?
Now my grandfather, he used to have this saying. He used to tell you like straight up. One thing about my grandfather knew a lot. He was blessed to have. He was blessed to have lived through, you know, many decades. And not just that, like he had, you know, he was knocking on the door of a century. A century,
Yeah,
not two,
man.
a century.
I've seen a lot.
And yeah, like
Bro, that's crazy because he done seen VCRs be created, DVDs and streaming, cell phones, TV,
he been through all of that.
bro, dishwashers, internet, everything.
Man, look,
that's crazy.
He's seen the evolution of TVs, period.
That's
so
crazy.
from the first, you got to think about it, like black and white TVs too. Man, like
3D.
Man, look here.
Electric
HD.
cars, self-driving cars. Man done been through everything.
Man, look here. Been through, you know, they say hell to freeze over when
3
pigs
wars,
fly. Yeah, you
right?
say swine flu, you know. It's like, man, it's so much, man.
That's
so
crazy.
much. Shoot, it's crazy, bro, when you think about it like that. But one thing about it, like, my grandfather was very knowledgeable. And like probably one of the realest things that he would often say, and it is just, you know, you ask him, say, nah, that's beyond me. You just tell you right, it's beyond me. I don't know.
That's a real-
That's beyond.
that's a real answer, though.
Yeah, it's beyond me. So hey, go to the good Lord on that one because that's beyond me. So
That's real, man.
But sometimes I guess in life, bro, we got to be real enough to understand. Sometimes we don't know.
Yeah.
We don't know. It's like, bro, we don't know what's beyond the stars. Truly, us that's walking on this ground level. We don't know. We'll believe what was told to us, but we can't say we know. We
And
don't
that
know.
could, like, that would kickstart us to explore if that's our interest, right? So
Exactly.
it's like you don't know what you don't know what you don't know, right? So it's like, which is my point about the English language, like, right? So it's like you exposed to, you only gonna go outside your realm once you've been exposed to it, right? Like, yo, let me check that out. You know what I'm saying? Like, we talked about finding our flow on the podcast, and you like, yo, it's kind of like you in a light year thing. You like, yo, this flow. Let me try that. Let me try this. But it's only when you exposed to that. But I think what was dope to me was like once you start exploring the English language and history, right?
Now, see, I got my take on both of these. So this one, right?
I'm ready for it, man.
You show you
You know
ready.
what I'm saying? So like once you explore those two, right? To me, it's like unlocking Mortal Kombat. We all play video games, Mortal Kombat. Each character usually had two versions of themselves, each one with different abilities. And that's how it's like for me when with the English language and history, it's like, yo, you get to see so much more that's open to you. You know what I'm saying? Like somebody who's blind and they put on glasses and it's like, whoa, this is the world. So it's like, that's how I look at it, man.
Things are magnified.
Things are magnified and it's just way more clearer. You know what I'm saying? You could find your direction and figure out where you want to go from there.
Okay, so let me ask you a question on that. Since you want to take it to English, both the English.
Mm-hmm.
So, like when you say English literature, are you talking about
the
language?
reading, talking it,
Okay.
speaking it, and writing it? Because
Okay.
I think like when you hear certain people talk a certain way, you already get a perception about who they are, where they come from, things like that. So it's like that's why you need to explore it and better it and continue to grow it.
Now then you said the other thing you said was history.
Yeah.
But you don't know, we on the precipice of something special today.
Yeah, I'm being serious, man.
Are you ready for this now?
Yeah.
Are you ready?
Let's go.
You know we probably getting ready to debate.
I mean, history is like, there's so many different versions of history, right? You got...
Yes, please.
So I'm saying, like, you got your family history, you got world history, you know what I'm saying? You got cultural history, you have his history, her history, you know what I'm saying? So it's like, it's multiple different versions of history. Some overlap each other, some are very different. You know what I'm saying? Some have different versions, you know what I mean?
I'm listening, bro.
That's why I'm saying, like, studying history, like getting to a point to whatever history you want to study.
So,
you know what I'm saying?
All right.
Whatever era.
I'm gonna break the ice on this. I think it's time. All right. So, history, and English literature.
Yeah.
Or the English. We'll keep it at English literature.
Mm-hmm.
All right. So. Let's start off with history, as you stated. So history, learning to understand history when it's so diverse.
It is.
It can be. But is it more diverse than English literature, though?
History?
History itself.
I think they bounce off each other. To me, from my opinion, I think they bounce off each other, right? Because you can have spoken history that gets written down and becomes like physical history.
Okay.
You know what I'm saying? Then you have...
That's made factual, right?
What,
if it's written down, right?
Depending on...
if you live through it, you've seen it, right? That becomes factual information, right?
Yeah. Like if you've seen it happen, you write it down, that's your history. Like that's your version of history of what happened.
Your version of history.
Yeah.
All right, here we go. Your version of history.
Yeah.
What is history? Because you just say your version of history.
So history is like what's happened, like what has happened in the past, being told now in the present.
So what you're telling me is history is nothing more than documentation.
You could say it like that. That could be
that's what you just said, though, in a nutshell.
Well, it depends on like what are you talking about? Like when I think of history, I'm talking about like something that's been documented, that's been proven, that has happened. Or you can have history that's being told. You know what I'm saying? Like the Vikings, right? I've never been in that era or nothing like that, but I've read about it. I've seen artifacts, or I've read about it, right? Mm-hmm. So I've read in history of the Vikings, or that version of history of the Vikings. So it's like that's what I'm referring to in history. Or you talking about world history, like in high school, we was talking about world history.
We're gonna back up a little bit. So in this conversation, I'd rather talk about things that I'm probably a little more familiar with. That way, I can speak on that.
But
Vikings, I don't have no connection to the Vikings. I don't know. I'm gonna keep it. That's beyond me. just to keep it a buck, you know, because some would say the Viking history also. It can go to like it can start. You can like with the Vikings. You can kind of splice it into like the mythology and stuff like that of like even connected to like Thor, stuff like that. I don't know. That's beyond me. Not.
Well, what history were you talking about?
So history. What
popped into mind when you heard me say it?
So with history, I just simply want to just break it down to this one point. With history, if you take and you just break the word down, you have his story. Mm-hmm. So his story, you talk about, you're going to always get multiple versions of history. But what history is truly real or true or factual, that's going to always be up for debate, because history, especially dealing with our history, so to speak, oftentimes our history was told to us in reverse. Oftentimes in life, they often tell you that, you know, the winner, so to speak, they write the story. Like if you have a king, a successful king, prosperous king, then he'll have somebody, pretty much telling his story.
Yeah.
So that becomes his story, his story, history. History as told by the winner. Excuse me. But then what happens when sometimes the opposite happens and your history, your true history wasn't written down. Instead, somebody else came along and tried to tell your story, but they had an agenda on the way that they were going to go about doing it. And what wound up happening is, through this agenda, your true history wasn't told the right way. And what happens is when something isn't told the right way, or you don't have control over your own pen, then to be honest with you, you got plot holes. Not only do you have plot holes, then all of a sudden you just have a lot of room for many errors, and many errors unfold. And then next thing you know, if that's something that's left behind in your, within your lineage, let's just say that, your elders never talked about things, or the things that they did speak to you about or spoke to whoever about, they never documented it.
Yeah.
And they stopped telling the stories, then all of a sudden it's like it never even existed. But now somebody else has been penning your story, supposedly, but it wasn't the correct story. Now you're going to follow by that and you're going to say that's testament.
Well, it depends on up until a certain point. Because then up until a certain point, then it's got to be documented. Like, you know what I'm saying? I think I know what you saying, like you said, our history. It's up until a certain point, then it started being told by us. Like, I would say, from my understanding, like around like the 60s, 70s, and 80s, and then up until that point, then we started making our own history. Maybe even before then.
Explain.
Like, for instance, if we're talking about, let's just say we're talking about slavery, right? Then up until the point to where we got our freedom and the ability to rewrite and tell our own story, it was being told for us. You know what I'm saying? Okay. And then now we get to write our own history. So then that changes. I wouldn't say it changes, but then now we get in more control of it to where the accuracy can be more, the whoever's writing it can be more accurate.
But think about that. Think about that. That's a big gap. A lot can be lost within a gap. Think about this here. When a crime unfolds, right? Mm-hmm. And investigators go in to try to figure out what happened. The most important thing to them is this here. Okay, we have a crime in front of us, right? Now we got to find out about these suspects. So if anybody pops up as a possible suspect, what's the first thing they want to do? Okay, this crime supposedly happened at what time? Now, let's find out if they have alibis, and now we got to match the timing to see if they were anywhere even in the vicinity. Yeah. Because if that's the case, then automatically, all right, they could be linked to this thing, and then we can eliminate this person. So, again, if there's a gap in time, that creates more problems.
It does create problems, but then you can only go based off of what you know. Like, you could piece together from there. The gap, you could still come to a conclusion even though there's a gap. But it also depends on how big the gap is.
Okay, so how can you come to a conclusion if there's still a gap? Because you got to think about it, bro. That's like you telling me, bro, like even with hair, if you braiding the hair, if it's a gap in it, bro, that thing ain't tight.
You still could get a hairdo out of it though. Doesn't mean it's gonna be like a crispy.
You can get. No, you're right. No, and I don't take anything from that. You can get a hairdo out of that, or maybe, not a hairdo, a hair don't. You can get a hair don't out of that. Yeah, that's not a hairdo. But even with that, good and well, what we talking about is substance. Mm-hmm. History. Look at history as substance. Look at a timeline per se. Let's talk about timelines. Yeah. with timelines, you want them to be as tight as possible. You want them to be, you don't want to have space in there in a timeline because number one, things become distorted. And especially when you're telling a story, history is nothing but, it just includes story after story.
Yeah.
It's a storybook. That's what history is. Now, if you got chapter 3 missing and then you skip all the way to 5, people, hold on, what happened? Like, how we get from this to this?
But what I'm saying is like you still have finished the book. Like take for instance like a natural disaster, like a hurricane category 5 come in, wipe out a whole neighborhood, right? You have a gap of not having a house. You're gonna rebuild your house. Now, would you have as much money and as many items as you would have?
Let
maybe?
me pause you for a second.
What's
you
up?
said you're gonna rebuild a house.
Yeah.
Some can't rebuild a house.
But you're not gonna be homeless. You know, well, some will be homeless. You know what I'm saying? I don't know. But what I'm saying is you're gonna like progress from that point on.
You would hope that they can progress. Everybody cannot and this is the sad and unfortunate part to life. Now you're looking at this from a very optimistic point of view, but you got to look at it from a realistic point of view. Everybody doesn't make it back to where they were when they go through certain, man. Like,
that is true. You know what I'm saying? Inky Johnson, for instance, like he was playing football, fire, and then he had an injury to his arm. He can't use his arm now. You know what I'm saying? But he's still doing other things. He's not playing football. But my man's still, you know what I'm saying, doing his thing.
But again, we're talking about history. And now within this book or this particular chapter in history, like you said, if a hurricane came through and wiped out a city, neighborhood, whatever, then all of a sudden, if you're not able to rebuild that, then guess what? What happens is eventually, the land is destroyed, whatever. If these people aren't able to come back in and recultivate that land or lay claim to the land that was once theirs, if they were never able to go back in there and do it, in which everybody can't do it. Yeah. Everybody cannot
100%.
do it. Some people don't have insurance. So you think about that. That's a big blow.
It is.
So now all of a sudden they get pushed out of there because of this event. They get pushed out of there. Then eventually years go by. Other people come in. Other people look at it and they say, "Hey, we might be sitting on a gold mine here." They go ahead and they start rebuilding it. Yeah. Now what happens is this. The people that got ushered out of there because of the situation. Let's just say, they took it as a loss. And then all of a sudden, it became too painful to even tell that story. Mm-hmm. So they stopped telling the story to their kids. Their kids stopped hearing about it. Now all of a sudden, that's a part of history that never even existed to a part of their generation. That's what I'm saying. We have to tell if... The point I'm trying to make, man, as a writer, the most vital and important thing we can do to ensure our existence is pick up the pen and you write. Yeah. You write. You like your generation, you're responsible for that. That's your history. You tell that story, your story. Tell it. Mm-hmm. Tell it. And my thing is, it becomes a block. One block. You might bring, let's just say, hey, sometimes, and this is the thing, man, each one teach one, reach one. Sometimes, your ancestor or, he or she may not have been equipped to tell that story and didn't have somebody that even wanted to listen to them to write the story. But here you come. And they might be on their way out, but then they still got a story to tell.
100%. You
hear them out, write out their story. You can pick those generations back up from, let's just say you might from that elder, they may be able to go 4 generations back. That's a strong start, man.
Nah, it is.
That's a strong start.
That's
history being told. Instead of somebody else coming in. And see, this is something else I want to get you to understand, man. Like the census. The census is also a part of history. But that's the part of history that at the beginning, the way that the census was set up. You know, you had census takers that was going around telling other people's story. But one thing about a story, growing up, what we used to always say, or what we learned growing up, you telling the truth, boy, or you telling the what?
I tell.
Telling a story.
Oh.
Telling a story. So already, look at it. Look at it.
Similarities. Nah, I'm with you.
It is. The census takers, though, back then, they were going, and their assignment was to go around and to take census of who was where.
Mm-hmm.
But a lot of times, what was happening, that wasn't accurate information. It wasn't. It wasn't. They were telling a story.
As a whole? Or as you saying, because I'm like, help me understand.
I got you.
Because I'm like, let me like, I'm saying like, you're not gonna have perfect organization or perfect everybody telling like accurate. Some people gonna get tired. Some people not gonna walk their whole thing. They just gonna write it off. You know what I'm saying? But as a whole though, was the whole thing like a thing? Or?
When you got agendas, you know, excuse me. When you got agendas that's, you know, that's being when you got agendas that's being put together, what winds up happening is, okay, you heard before, like, you know, one lie, or you tell a lie, you got to tell another lie. That, you know, it's just like the lie gets bigger, and you got to preserve the lie, so to speak. So with that being said, like with the census takers, you got to understand something. We've talked about this before, man. You've had a whole, you got, in a sense, bro, you got a few generations, bro. I call them lost generations. I call them lost generations simply because of what all they've been through, the trauma they've been through, the renaming of these generations. If you rename something enough times, man, it becomes lost. Because what is lost? Being lost. You say what? When you on a road, man, and you go in one direction and you just know, I got to make it to my destination, and you get turned around, you get what? You get lost. Mm-hmm. You got a lost generation that don't truly know who they are because they were turned around. How were they turned around? They were turned around through the name changes. You got, for example, we've talked about this before, man. You've got things, you've got roadblocks such as, you know, like the $5 Indians, people that were, that's the first, man, to be honest with you, man, I really didn't want to go here today, but we're going to go here today. That's the first public instance of, what is it called? What kind of fraud? Identity? What is called? Identity fraud.
Gotcha.
Identity fraud. That's the first, like, that's it. I even sat there and I let you, I put you on the, you seen it.
That.
Yeah.
I remember that.
So again, if you got individuals that were willing to, again, they lied about that. That's, I mean, come on. It's point blank. It's right there in your face. So automatically a story was being told that this is now an Indian, or this is what an Indian should look like. So again, you tell that story long enough, then all of a sudden, what people, the masses start thinking, oh, that's what an Indian look like. That's what an Indian look like. A Florida State Seminole. Now you're looking at me like what you mean by that? If you go and look up a logo of the Florida State Seminoles, if you look at their logo, you look at that picture, and then you go and you look up the old Washington Redskins, their logo, and you line them up side by side.
Totally different?
Do it. Look at the facial features.
Maybe. You know what I'm saying? Maybe. Like I went not like an Indian, like the one I'm thinking about in my head.
I'm not even talking about an Indian. Get the image of an Indian out your head and
somebody
look at the
with a big nose?
Exactly.
Yeah.
Exactly. Now the other one looking like Casper the Friendly Ghost over there.
Obviously ain't nobody walking around looking white though. You know what I'm saying? Like,
but again,
not pale.
Pale. What I'm saying is this here, man. That to be real with you, what does that really like? If we're gonna be a buck, and I'm not trying to take it there, but the picture of the Florida State Seminole in comparison to the Washington Redskins, the old Washington Redskins logo, that actually the Florida State Seminole actually would look like a clown. When you think about a clown wears a lot of makeup, right? That white makeup,
Yeah.
that's pretty much the look of it.
You could say that.
Now,
But go ahead.
Now, the Florida State Seminole, go bring the image back up.
Yeah.
You look.
Oh, you said the Redskins?
Yeah, Washington Redskins.
That one would look like a clown?
No, I said bring up the Washington Redskins.
Gotcha.
Now you look at that enlarge. Now you look at that, right?
Mm-hmm.
It don't look like that. That ain't nothing clownish about that.
Nah.
That look like That brother, you look at it. First of all, that look like that's just again. When I gave you the definition before, right, of American.
Yes.
You remember like parts of what it said, copper color.
Yeah, copper color.
That would be the look.
Mm-hmm.
Now, you know what I find interesting?
What's up?
Again, if you're gonna preserve a lie, things have to change so that it could take and be more appealing to the lie. Now, that logo, pretty soon, Washington Redskins, the Washington Redskins don't exist anymore.
Who are there now?
The Washington, I don't know, they changed it. But again, you have to stop and think about this, right? Mm-hmm. Think about it from a holistic point of view. You got to think about it. You take and you do away with that image. Now, after a while, you're going to have, let's just say the kids that's today, they're football fans and they continue to grow up or whatever. They have children, the children's children. Now, 3 generations out, they're not going to know anything about the Washington Redskins.
True. Well, no, I wouldn't say that because
They're not.
I would say I would go back to what you said, which is if you want to
if
teach
somebody,
then you write it down.
But you hear what I'm saying.
What?
Those kids, they're not going to know about it. The only way they would know about it is if they're taught about it.
But that's what I'm saying.
But through, like I said, but what I'm saying is the way that this thing is going, the reason why it's like this is to lose that.
Yeah.
People not going to remember that. So it becomes a part of history that for a lot of people, it never existed.
For some.
Yeah.
But I would say my point is like it never would be erased, honestly, because it's always there because it did exist at one point in time. Now it may not exist now, but that was a part of history of what it was before. So if you wanted to research it, you can. Like it's still there. So,
but you're right about that. But what they do a lot of times, people make it so hard to research those things. First of all, they make it hard by doing things like this. Pretty soon, like for example, those cars come out, like collectible cars and stuff. They'll put the price so high, right? So what happens? A lot of people, I'm gonna sell that car, whatever. And they would have had that logo on it, whatever. The car gets sold, and then what happens is now you don't even have the evidence anymore. But I get what you're saying because you got like right now, what we could do, you can go online and you can find a lot of that stuff. But
you said a major word though. You said agenda. So it's like I'm not negating that like people have agendas about like wanting to erase something or like wanting to push a narrative. I think the reason I'm not so against it is because I know that you can never completely blanket the world. You know what I'm saying? Because everybody had different brains. You know what I mean? Like everybody had different brains. Even me and you. You know what I'm saying? Like we have our talk, like we have this right here, our conversations, and I can't never completely blanket you the way you think like I do, or somebody think like me.
Yeah.
So it's like I'm never too much worried about it. Now their influence, they may hold some influence for a period of time, but their reign will have to end, and then another person's agenda and another person's way of thinking is gonna come up, just like it has done in history. Like we've seen that do.
It's interesting that you would use that term. Their reign will end.
Yeah.
Their reign will end. This right now is the perfect segue to something else. Mm-hmm. Something else pressing. This is a current event that's happening right now.
What's up?
Right now. Tell me if if you familiar with this. What are you familiar with Jim Crow?
I don't know any of them off the top of my head, but I know like they had laws that prevent black people from doing certain things or black people from like elevating.
Do you think that it was the laws was needed back then?
When you want to like oppress them, like when I think of the word oppressive, like no, like I don't think any law should be put in place to oppress somebody or like keep them down like that. You know, I don't feel the need to do that. You know what I'm saying? I don't understand why there's a need to do something like that to somebody.
It's the power structure.
No, what I'm saying is like it's enough out here for everybody. Like if, for somebody to succeed, if somebody, I would think it would be more of a selfish reason for that. Obviously, it's a selfish reason to do that. But I'm saying like, yo, like you have people now, like you doing your thing, I'm doing my thing. You got people that's millionaires and billionaires, even like billions of dollars, and you still got people that's thriving and living. So it's like you could accumulate $50 million, $50 billion, $500 billion, but you still got people that's still gonna thrive. So it's like there's no reason to try to smother out somebody because you still could thrive even if they're there. You know what I'm saying? You just might have to thrive over here. Like they gonna thrive over there, I'm gonna thrive over here.
I'm not gonna lie to you. I definitely feel you. I definitely, you know me of all people. I definitely feel you. But the way that you're thinking about it as though, and that's how I would expect you to answer that. I would expect you to answer that question as though someone that would never even think to even want to bring such a structure into existence. But the problem is the structure, the mold was created.
Yeah.
I'm asking you, why do you think that mold was created?
I think it's just maybe out of fear, maybe out of lack of. I think it's all based off a lack of understanding, and misinformation. You know what I'm saying? That's what I think it's based off of. Because I don't think nobody's just come in the world evil. Like there's no person that just comes in the world evil. I'll take that back. I would say like we're all born with like, you know, wanting to do bad things or bad things innately in us, but it's based off a lack of understanding. I feel like once you understand why you shouldn't do that or why you don't need to do that, then you change. You know what I'm saying? So
now we talking about choices.
Like it's a lack of understanding and choices too, like choosing to do whatever you want to do.
Exactly. So something that may have took place. Jim Crow took place. It was going on. Look it up for me.
Laws enforced racial segregation in the South between the eras in the 1877. So like
1877.
Yeah. This one say 1896. That's when the court case, Supreme Court.
1896.
Yeah.
So 1896. Okay, let's do that one. 1896 on until what? And it went on through the 19s.
Mm-hmm.
So check this out. What do you think we've learned as a society? What should we have learned from 1896 on to like today's generation? Do you think we should be a better judge of character, especially dealing with people?
Yeah, of course.
Right?
I think we are though.
You think so?
Of course. Some people may have not involved, but I think as a whole we've progressed. Because you got to think there's not segregation, like not how it was before. So is there still segregation? Of course. There's still that way of thinking, of course. But you got to think, even crocodiles, like they still hold a prehistoric gene of dinosaurs. Mm-hmm. You know what I'm saying? So it's still prevalent. They're still there.
Well, I mean, it's just not as prevalent. Into sin, so sin is still technically a part of us.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. I think it has been progression. I say it like that.
Okay. So do you think something like that could occur again?
Jim Crow laws? Not to that extent, because we already seen the effects of it. So I don't think it'd be as, because it got like, for me, I look at it like when the chicken pox came out. The chicken pox can never be as powerful as it was before, because we have been through that.
And then immunity.
Yeah. Now, is there another version that may mirror chicken pox that may come out, like the coronavirus that kind of mirrored the flu a little bit? Yeah. But because we haven't seen that version.
So what you saying is the evolution. It can change.
Mm-hmm.
So do you think that it'll ever? So with that being said, you don't see it being called Jim Crow again? Yeah,
exactly. Will it have the similar effects? Yeah, but I don't think it would be He says in 2023, the Mississippi House passed a bill that would essentially resurrect Jim Crow. Now, that purpose law will head the Senate, where Republicans also retain majority power. Perhaps Mississippi will become the first state to so openly reinstate Jim Crow, extracting black power in every form it can yet again. Is that an article or is that fact?
This is going on now.
What does that mean though? Like what are they talking about? What are they referring to?
Cool. You asked the same thing. What does that mean?
Yeah.
But okay, before we even evaluate what does that mean, you said a mouthful. Mm-hmm. That's why I asked you before. Again, like and I agree with you. I don't even see what in the world or why in the world anybody would try to resurrect something and rename it Jim Crow again. Like, why?
Now, the only issue I have with that, what you just showed me, is I don't know if that was an article that Google made the head of that, or if that's an actual statement from the government.
Well,
you
look
know
it
what
up.
I'm saying?
Let's see.
First thing that popped up was 3 things to know about what critics are calling the Mississippi Jim Crow bill. The Mississippi State House passed House Bill 1020, mostly along party lines last month, sending the proposal to state senates. Most of the area impacted are the more predominantly white neighborhoods of the city. The state representative who proposed the legislation has said the bill is necessary to address rising crime, but opponents have slammed it as racially motivated and branded it as an update version of Jim Crow law. Let me see what the bill is. House Bill 1020. Oh, this thing is super long.
Yeah, I'm looking at it too. Now, this was just brought to me yesterday. That's why I was just interested. Yeah. So now from that, I got my own take on that.
Yeah, I still don't understand that. I think. Go ahead.
Yeah, I was about to say the same thing. So it seemed like it's a lot of layers to that. First of all, everything hasn't even been ironed out yet.
Yeah,
and it seemed like it's a debate between, the individuals that's in Jackson.
Mm-hmm.
And those individuals that's trying to bring some type of they're trying to clean up Jackson, so to speak. But maybe the way in which they're going about doing it is not the best way. If all along we've been voting, why not continue to vote? But from what I'm gathering, tell me if you gathering the same thing, they're willing to elect individuals to
it sounds like permanently elect them, so they'd be there for the lifetime.
Yeah, and I don't think that's good either.
Yeah, man, that's a tough one, man. From my thinking, I'm thinking like, okay, the past 5 to 10 years, what has that looked like? You know what I'm saying? Elected wise, crime wise, and voting wise, because we got to see what's the population of Jackson that's voting to put these officials there. And if there's a large majority of people that's voting to put officials there, the officials that they put there, were they doing their job? Secondly, if it wasn't a large amount of people that was voting there, and the state still had to put people there, then I could see why they implemented something like, well, we'll just take over because nobody's voting for this.
Or why they're trying to implement it.
You know what I'm saying?
But still yet, that's not, hear me out on this. That doesn't sound American though.
But again, we're basing this off of just a minute amount of understanding. You know what I'm saying?
You're right. But even off of that small information that we got,
mm-hmm.
I'm getting big issues that could come from this.
But that's what I'm saying. Like, that's another. All right, this is me being totally transparent. Like, I always like to come at a point from like a level of complete understanding.
No, correct.
There's never a level of complete common understanding, but I'm saying from a level of understanding where I feel comfortable. I would say like, because when you speak on these type of topics,
like you got to have all your stuff.
Yeah,
and I agree with you on that.
That's where a lot of uprising comes, and then it's like people like, yo, you heard what they doing over there? Like, what? They doing that? And then now you got this big problem that shouldn't even been a problem because the first people that understood it didn't explain it well.
You're right.
Or didn't have as good an understanding of it themselves.
The issue that I take with this now is, number one, you're right on that. This is just me personally, man.
Yeah. What's up?
Things don't just happen by chance. This
don't.
information leaked for a reason.
Well, it's public information.
Okay, whether it's public information, listen to me on this, brother. Listen to me good. I understand what you're saying is public information, but what you would think would be public information sometimes is still kept up under the rug. People have a way of turning down the value on certain things and turning up the value on other things so that the other things you hearing loud and clear. Mm-hmm. And that is to get your body moving to the beat that they're putting out there. Mm-hmm. Whilst your body moving to the foolishness that's being put out there behind the scenes, we doing this. Mm-hmm. My thing is this here, man. When I listen to that and read through, I get a sense of, again, the terms that were used was racist, along with a few other things. But when you hear terms like racist being used, man, it's to create a divide. Then you heard that, it's a predominant black area. Mm-hmm. And they say, they have a clear issue going on over there. But my thing is, so when you have an issue going on someplace, the first thing that you think is, now it's time to take the power away from the people. Take the power away from the people and let us police the people how we see fit to police the people by electing those individuals that we need to. That's how it sounds. We not 100% sure how this thing is going to play out. We don't know. Yeah. But that's the sounds that's coming out. Yeah, it's going to be an uproar.
Yeah, of course. Nah, you're right about that.
It's going to be a healthy uproar. And the sad part about it, the one thing that a lot of us can't seem to do all the time is come together. But in cases like that, we'll find a way to come together. Because
it's needed.
Exactly. I'm going to say something, man, on this here, and then we can move past this. I feel like this is the guinea pig effect. What I mean by that is experimental phase that's going on. Call me crazy, man, if you want to. Whatever. You got movies out there, man, sometimes, man, like The Purge, the first Purge, and you look at that stuff, man, and you be like, yo, this is crazy. I don't know if you ever seen it before. You probably
I think so. Purge. Yeah.
And the neighborhood that in which they did that, yeah, that was an experimental phase. This sounds very experimental to me. Like, first of all, number one, even just to hear, the term used, when you talking about what is it called?
The laws. The House bills?
The law, what is it called? The Jim Crow. Jim Crow, the new Jim Crow in Mississippi. Mm-hmm. Like, even hearing that, it causes a shift in your being. You like, oh, hold on, what? Yeah. You know what I'm saying? Now, that's the thing about it, man. You don't have to be born in the 60s or born in the 70s to, or born in the 50s and went through it in the 60s to know how that feels. We've like that. There's been shock waves that's been passed through generations. Like grandma, all like that type of suffering. We've all felt that because it's created traumatic impact.
No, 100%. So it's needed to like have that that kind of like pushback. Cause it's like, yo, what? Hold up, man. We ain't about to do that again.
Yeah, exactly.
But like, all right, my point, or my stance on towards that would be like. Well, in the military, they used to call it the Lance Corporal Underground, and it was when like Lance Corporals used to get together, and it would be like a lot of mingling about what's supposed to go on, and then sometimes it be true, sometimes it don't. You know what I'm saying? Sometimes they get it like 75% right, or whatever. From my understanding of or from my experience in military, like before something get passed down, it's being vetted through like 5 to 10 levels of chains of command. You know what I'm saying? Like somebody approved this, they got sent back. This level can approve it, but this level can't. They can send it back. So it's like it's a lot of stuff that go into it. And
Facts.
For me, I'm concerned about like even voicing my opinion sometimes on certain stuff because it starts that like the rumbling, because it's like certain terms get thrown out and then people like, oh nah bro, I know they ain't doing that. And you heard, because remember last year they started with something like this, and it's like, you feel me? And then they get this whole thing going on, and it's like
traction.
Yeah, it's traction. Yeah. So I'm very cautious about how I do about
sometimes you give it legs.
Yeah, man. So it's like, if it is the way they wording it, like the new Jim Crow, nah, bro. You know what I'm saying? That's not gonna go. You feel me? That's not gonna go. But for me to feel comfortable talking about it, I would rather be, or not even talking about it, but for me to feel comfortable,
like going in depth on it. Yeah,
I have to get a full understanding.
I mean, we all do. But I will say this, man, and this is just me. All I can do is speak on me, right?
Yeah.
So for me, if I was a higher up, and I was thinking about something radical, or if I was thinking about something diabolical, the way I would go about doing it, man, is in a sense, I would do a temperature gauge on the climate. Just throw a little intel out there. Just throw it out there and release this part. Just see what happens. Just to see what the temperature,
like
exactly. I feel like oftentimes, I think that a lot of times, bro, I think we are being prepped for certain things. I do. I feel that, man, because in this Simon Says society, man, oftentimes it's you got to pay attention to it. Mm-hmm. Certain things, it just be thrown out the little nuggets just to be prepped.
But I think that's even a misconception. Like you said, a prep. When the first thing come to mind is like I'm thinking of music. Like they make you think that majority of black people are like gangsters, twerking, doing all this stuff. Like they push a narrative of like that's what most of the young kids are into. I like to think like that is a percentage of the young people that's doing that. You know what I'm saying? The other percentage are going to college, or the other percentage are in the workforce, or the other percentage are entrepreneurs. So I think they do that purposely to get our mindset trained to like, oh, this is what we are.
Okay,
this is what we represent.
So to play devil's advocate, right? So a percentage, right? Mm-hmm. A percentage, you say like twerking, gang banging, stuff like that, right? Mm-hmm. Now check this out. Now this is where it gets real interesting. So cool, like you said, I agree with you. Not everybody doing that stuff.
Because we think about it, how many kids you know are we know family members maybe are doing that, but realistically, like kids that are just throwing their life away, I don't really know that many, man. But again, that goes back to, like I said, a percentage are. You know what I'm saying? That's not the majority, though. I don't think that's the majority. It can't be the majority. Because the ecosystem wouldn't, I say ecosystem.
It wouldn't uphold.
The economy wouldn't uphold, yeah.
No, you can look at it, you can call it an ecosystem too. It wouldn't uphold, because you got to look at the makeup of things. If the majority is actually doing the wrong thing, then to be honest with you, you don't have room for growth.
Exactly.
You don't have success stories. You don't have, But again, I do agree with you I agree with you, man, wholeheartedly, that things are not often as they appear, especially by the news outlets and the media outlets. Mm-hmm. It's an agenda. It is an agenda to put certain displays in front of you to have you thinking one thing, have people terrified, to bring more division, to cause more suffering,
to give opportunities.
Yeah.
You know
all of this. Now, I will now also, to play devil's advocate, go back to what you said, the twerking and gang banging and stuff. It's people that still, and I don't get it. I would not understand it. There's certain people, man, that'll go to college and still be doing the same thing. Like, for real. I don't get it.
You got to get it out. I think we all got a little bit of ratchet in us, though. You know what I'm saying? We all got a little bit that we got to get off sometime. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah, you made it sound like it was some rocks. Right. You got to get the rocks off sometime. So that we got to get off sometime.
Hey, bro, I'm being real. But nah, you're right. It is a
so we can't sit up there and call it one way if we ain't gonna, you know what I'm saying?
That's real.
Because see, and the sad part, the crazy part about it is this here. So, no, I'm not going there. I'm not going there because like it's a stigma behind the preacher's children.
Oh yeah, they the PKs. Yeah. They're the worst ones.
That's what they say, right?
They say that.
But see, like you say. They the worst ones. That's what people tend to always believe. But then again, you look at the percentages and stuff like that. And for all we know, that could be totally wrong.
Right.
But then for all we know, that thing could be real.
Right. You know what I'm saying?
You'd be like, hey, they are doing they doing their thing. What I'm saying is just like,
funny,
no,
that's true though.
Like
that's
for
funny.
real. But it's like, but you think about why that is. For them, acceptance.
Yeah,
people.
I can see that.
Like,
and too, like I think, like looking at the background, like coming from a preacher's kid, you would think like they wouldn't do no sin, they wouldn't do anything. But it's like they regular kids like anybody else.
But again, man, to think about it again, acceptance. You got to think about it. It's like already sometimes certain people do not ask to be put on pedestals.
Exactly.
Certain people do not want to be seen as perfect.
Exactly.
Certain people can't make friends because all of a sudden they already look at you and you know.
Where you Bible at?
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? It's like, bro, I'm trying to eat lunch, bro. Like, chill.
Like, you ain't wearing your tie today? You know what I'm saying? It's just like, man, hey,
we ain't got no pulpit in here.
Exactly.
It's like, bro.
Boy, look at he just sat down with us. Y'all better be careful. He might start preaching at the, you know what I'm saying? But it's like,
yeah.
It's just like people want to be accepted.
I feel you on that.
Because of that, certain people, what I got to do to be accepted.
Mm-hmm.
And it's like inclusion.
Yeah.
It's that inclusion. And it's like, I said it before, man. It's a drug, man. It's a drug. It's that drug that it's a sly drug because it doesn't come at you, uber aggressive. But man, what I gotta do, man, just to be accepted around here, man. Like, man, I just look like it's just like people that make a basketball team, man. It's like you might look at it, you like, man, I'm on a team. Like I look around, everybody's scoring the ball, but it's like I can score the ball, but I don't look as cool as them. What I could do to just be accepted. And so now what happens is oftentimes for you to do, in order for you to be accepted, you got to do extra.
Yeah. You feel like you got to be extra.
For them, they feel like you said, for them, they feel like they do have to be extra because it's like now they got to totally deviate from this image that they uphold for whatever reason. So now all of a sudden, individual might test it out. I'm gonna put on a short skirt today, something shorter than I normally wear my skirt beneath my knees. I'm gonna just try to. I'm gonna bring it to the knee to a little, have it cut at the knees and see if anybody notice. So somebody come get a little attention.
That's true,
and that's what it takes, man. Just that little attention, man. That this is what I want.
100%.
I'm almost there.
And that's funny that you say that, man, because I would say this. I'm gonna get my point. A lack of understanding, because if you really lack of understanding based on Christian theology and what it's really about, you know what I'm saying? Ain't about being perfect or being put on a pedestal. You know what I'm saying? Just wanted to say that. But another thing too is like doing that way, the accepted way, trying to be accepted, going that way versus doing it the right way, being yourself. Both of those gonna get you to the same end goal, but you're gonna be in different conditions from both of them, right? And that's what we don't understand, right? Because you could go the short skirt way, you know what I'm saying, get that attention, but it's a different type of condition that you're going to be in a different type of condition 10 years from now versus going, just being yourself, the modest way, or being whoever you are, you know what I'm saying? I think that's where the turn is, just being in different conditions. But
Are you right though?
You know what I'm saying? Because you think about it, you had the people that just want to seek attention and get fame or millions or get eyeballs or looked at them or ears or whatever, clicks. They just want to do it by any means necessary. And then you had the people that go the slow route, what they perceive the slow route, or take the stairs. You're going to get to your end goal either way. This person may be a little bit more happier, have a little bit more peace in their life, better relationships, better mentality. But I think that way you're going to be a lot more conflicted because you had to compromise a lot more.
You know what, man? If you allow me to for a second, man.
Yeah.
I want to say something. I'm just like, we just freestyling today anyway, right? So, all right. I don't know what I'm about to say right now.
All right.
This is okay. Truly the art of freestyling. I don't know, but we gonna go there.
All right, let's go.
Wherever my mind take me, we gonna go there. All right. So, check this.
Mm-hmm.
I got stories in my head. Sometimes these stories, they torment me.
Okay.
So it's hard for me to put them to bed. But I got stories in my head. So peep this. What we were just talking about, right? It's like, I could see it, man. I could see this preacher's kid, preacher's child, young girl, teenage girl. Right now she's struggling because she wants extra. She wants to know what extra feels like. She wants to know what being popular looks like. She wants to know what being regular, what it looks like. So she knows how she was brought up. She knows God. She knows all of these things. But she's not perfect. So her imperfections will allow her to go out and go seeking something that she could really just go to the Lord about. And the Lord can give her a level of understanding. The level of understanding and knowing that it's only momentary. What she's seeking is instant gratification. But when you open up the door to instant gratification, it looks a lot like temptation. It looks a lot like I'm going to dress like the next. I'm going to start dating. And me, I'm going to be the ex. And I'm going to call him my ex. Then from that, she finds the next. She's playing a deadly game, and then she gets caught in her own web. Trying to be the Black Widow, but not understanding that it's something far more sinister. And it's lurking. It's lurking. Bro, I got stories in my head. They're hard to put to bed. Right now, I'm just simply, man, shooting a breeze with you. But this is how it goes when the wheels are turning. And all I'm doing right now, all I'm doing is educating you on what's going on upstairs. And all of these stories, man. All of these stories that cry out to me. It's personal, man, because it's like when I see you, I see them. And it's like their movements are like the lyrics, man, that's being put right in front of me. No matter how much I tell them, no, don't do that. That's a comma. I can breathe a little, but then the next movement happens. That's the next lyric. Things happen as they're supposed to happen, but sometimes we just move without ration. And that creates the story that must get told.
That's real. Nah, that was real, bro. That's crazy.
I got stories to tell.
That's crazy though, man. Cause it's real though, man. Like you spoke on like the popularity thing, man, and it made me think back to like, for instance, I got it written down here. I was like, even itself, right? Me today, me over the next week, me over the next month, year. The me that is now can't compromise the me of next week. But you don't think about that sometimes in the present, right? So by doing something that's impulsive, that's gonna give me impulsive pleasures, but now I'll compromise the future. You know what I mean? And so like you got impulsive pleasure and then you got earned pleasure. Two totally different things. Both pleasure, you know what I'm saying? Both gonna give you the same gratification, same satisfaction, but two different outcomes of each, right? So like you have to understand the long-term importance and why that's important, right? So like how do you go about changing how you think about being long-term, right? And then I got like basically when you have short-term or impulsive pleasure, it's basically like going in a weight room and you got this big bodybuilder dude with you and he lifting the weight for you, but you getting all the pats on the back for it, right? But then one day gonna come to where you have to really lift the weight by yourself and it's gonna fall on you, right? So you have like me with weed, right? When I was smoking weed in high school and up into my like early life, I subconsciously learned that weed brought you popularity. I didn't bring myself popularity. It's me having the weed with me that brought me popularity. You know, everybody want to be around a person that smokes. And what I didn't realize was like I didn't personally have good talking skills, or I wasn't like an entertaining person. I didn't know how to hold a conversation. Weed did that for me. When I had weed, I didn't have to say too much. I didn't have to do too much because the weed did it.
Ventriloquist.
You know what I'm saying? That was it. So it's like when I stopped smoking, I had to do the work to develop the skills to learn how to talk to people, to learn how to have a conversation. You know what I'm saying? To learn how to, you know what I mean, talk to people pretty much. So that's going to take a lot longer. Some people use, instead of weed, some people use their money. Some people use their jewelry, their cars, their influence. But you have to really be that person. You know what I'm saying? Without all those things. And that's the earned pleasure. That's where that comes in at. So like what makes you that person is by doing the work, not wearing the equipment. You have to learn how to use the equipment. Or you have to take the time to learn the skills and to acquire the knowledge. That's what you have to do. Learn the skills and learn to acquire the knowledge. Some people would rather just go on fancy vacations, take fancy pictures with their family and their spouse or whoever, rather than do the work to develop a good family relationship, a good spouse relationship. The pictures make it look like, you know, we balling out of control, we have a great relationship, but deep down inside, we don't. You know what I'm saying? So you have to do the work to do that, right?
You're right.
And the terms that like go around are like life hacks, shortcut. You know what I mean? Things like that.
We like the sound
quick
of
fix.
that.
You know what I mean? 30-day abs. And it's like
get rich quick.
You feel me? And it's like, bro, those, like I said, are just like the weed was to me. I didn't have to talk. I didn't have to learn how to talk to a girl, how to take her out on dates, how to be, you know what I'm saying? The weed did that. We smoke. Next thing we doing, you know, already know what we're doing, right? So it's like, when I didn't have that, or when I stopped doing that, or we always say, I don't smoke weed. Weed doesn't use me. I use weed. Or something like that. Some crazy type of thing. You know what I'm saying? It's like
to me, that's the
I don't need weed. Weed need me, or something like that. You say a little slang like that, right? So it's like basically what I'm saying is like you have to become the person instead of using the tools to make it look like a facade. Basically, you know what I'm saying? So what you was gonna say though?
I was just the same thing, man. It's that's the telltale sign of when you definitely being used by a substance.
You know what I'm saying?
When you feel the urge to have to speak on the fact that I'm in control. It doesn't control me. I control it.
Right.
Number one, you already defeated. Like when you talking like that, you saying it for a reason. It's like you trying to convince yourself. So you speaking out loud on it. But it's like everybody around. Nobody asked you that. But you just
you feel me?
So
but it's like, nah, man, you feel the need to defend it. You know what I'm saying? That's what it is.
Exactly.
But it go back to what you were saying earlier about the whole acceptance thing and wanting to be popular. You know what I'm saying? For one, you know what I'm saying, in that situation, you have to be comfortable with who you are, who you was raised, how you was raised, who you are. You know what I'm saying? Understand what your purpose is and what you want to become. And then number two, you know, develop the person you want to be. Like you have to develop that. There's no tool, there's no equipment, there's no, you know what I'm saying, herbal supplements or dietary supplements that's going to magically make you that person. You have to do the work, walk that path, go on that journey to become the person that you want to become.
You're right, bro. Thank God for the free thinkers, man. Like, what we do, man, like, thank God, like, honestly, it shouldn't be taken for granted, man, what we do.
Nah, definitely not, man.
It's not.
It's not to
Go ahead.
cut you off. I'm gonna say it's like not scripted. Like it's not the usual thing that you see. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
Internet, all that.
It's just, man, I look at it, man, and you was talking earlier, man. You didn't say this verbatim, but man, the pot is so large, man. It's the pot is big enough for everybody, man. And whether it's a soup, whether it's a gumbo, whatever it is, man, that you like, it's like, man, the ingredients, they so live and they so ripe in the pot. It's like, man, we ain't got to sit up there, man, try to push the next man down or the next woman down or put them down, so to speak. It's like, man, look, the pot is big enough. Like, stir it. You know what I'm saying?
Yep.
Stir it up. And the thing about it, man, is I look at it, man, and there's so much going on in this world. So much going on in this world. It's so much to talk about. It's a lot of people would rather spend their time arguing about something and losing time rather than to talk to somebody about something and find a way to make time make sense, if that's even possible. But my point is trying to build, to create something rather than destroy or tear something down, tear someone down. It's like we all got hands, man, which are instruments. Well, most of us has hands. But even if some of us are lacking hands, we still got other means.
Right? Our body itself is an instrument.
Exactly. If you got a mouth, that's your instrument.
Mm-hmm.
If you got eyes,
You got brains, that's your instrument, bro.
Exactly. It's like, if you can see, you can envision,
Mm-hmm.
which means that you are well equipped with the ability to build
Yep.
through your vision.
That's
It's like,
it.
man, we got to, like, we really have to really start understanding us, understanding our capabilities, understanding, what it means to take on the challenge of figuring out what our purpose is here and how we can utilize those gifts, those talents, and continue to mold
Yep.
around those things and create something that's impactful.
1000%.
Going back, making it like it's 360. It's a simple matter of writing your history, leaving your history, leaving a legacy. Because who better to tell your story than you? And have that story, and you give that story to the next, your child or your family member. Let them go ahead and read it. Let them feel it. Let them understand that it's truly tangible and they can have the same thing, if not more. And they can go ahead and, throw their ingredients into this large pot. Let them go ahead and get the cooking. I'm talking about, man, it's a big kitchen, bro. A big kitchen. A huge kitchen. Hey, we need more chefs.
That's real, bro. The only thing I'm gonna say, man, is that we got people out here with $25 billion. $25 billion, right? With a B. That never stopped me from eating. That never stopped me from doing what I'm doing. You know what I'm saying? So if he could have 25 billion, right? Some people say, well, if they got all that money, it ain't enough for us. Or they got all that money, they doing what it's like, bro, that never stopped me from doing what I wanted to do. Still eat out, still do this, still go to the store, buy. It's like, so I'm just reiterating pretty much what Herb said, man. Like I think the last episode he said your feet are your pen. You know what I'm saying? So use your feet, whatever part of your body that is operational. Use that to create the life that you want, to help others. to be a gift to somebody, to build your character. You know what I'm saying? To be somebody of substance, to build a legacy. So I'm living on that, man. That was powerful, bro.
I'm gonna say one last thing before we out. Your passion will drive. Understand what I just said. Passion, slow it down. Passion will drive. I'm out. Your passion will drive.
That's it, man. This has been the Real Talk Podcast. Catch us each week, or every Thursday, Every Thursday, like, share, comment. And yeah, man, we out. Peace. Real talk.
Real talk.
We appreciate you giving us a listen. If you like this episode and would like to engage with us or support, reach out through our social media platforms linked in the description, and tune in every Thursday to check out new episodes. See you next week.